Every conflict is first decided in the mind. Before words are spoken. Before actions are taken. Before power is displayed. Most people believe that victory belongs to the strongest, the loudest, or the most aggressive. That belief alone already makes them easy to defeat. Because the real battlefield is invisible. Mental dominance is not about manipulation tricks, intimidation, or clever lies. Those are shallow tools. They work once or twice, then collapse. True mental superiority comes from structure, self-control, and asymmetry of awareness. When you understand more than your opponent, about yourself, about them, about the situation, you don't need to overpower them. They defeat themselves. It is not about exploiting weakness for pleasure. It is about never being controlled, never being predictable, and never being cornered. If you master the principles below, you will notice something strange. People start reacting to you instead of the other way around. 1. Emotional self-regulation is non-negotiable. The fastest way to lose any mental confrontation is emotional leakage. Anger. Defensiveness. Need for approval. Fear of silence. Every emotion you fail to regulate becomes information your opponent can use. Most people think emotions are private. They are not. Micro-expressions, tone shifts, pacing, breathing, all of it is readable. If someone can emotionally move you, they already own part of you. Mental dominance begins with one brutal rule. Never reveal more emotional data than absolutely necessary. This does not mean suppressing emotions. Suppression creates tension and tells its own story. It means processing emotions internally before they leak externally. Calm is not weakness. Calm is opacity. When an opponent cannot read you, they cannot calibrate their strategy. 2. Detachment is power, not apathy. There is a difference between detachment and indifference. Indifference is careless. Detachment is deliberate. Detached people don't rush to respond, don't over-explain, don't seek validation mid-conflict. Why? Because urgency reveals dependency. The person who needs resolution faster is at a disadvantage. Detachment creates temporal leverage. You are not freezing the game, you are slowing it down while the other person burns energy trying to speed it up. Silence, when used correctly, is not absence. It is pressure. 3. Identity stability makes you unmovable. People who are easy to manipulate usually have one thing in common. They are not sure who they are. If your values, boundaries, and self-image shift depending on who you're talking to, you will always be reacting instead of directing. An opponent probes identity first. You're not really that type of person, are you? Someone like you wouldn't do that. I expected more from you. These are not comments. They are identity attacks. If your sense of self is unstable, you will unconsciously try to correct their perception and walk straight into their frame. Mental dominance requires internal definition. You know what you stand for. You know what you tolerate. You know what you don't need to explain. When identity is stable, external pressure has nothing to grab. 4. Frames are invisible rules. A frame is the invisible context that decides what matters, who justifies themselves, who reacts, and who leads. Most conflicts are not about facts. They are about frames. Example. One frame, we are equals discussing an issue. Another frame, you owe me an explanation. Another, I'm evaluating you. The person who accepts the wrong frame starts losing before the conversation even begins. 5. Never argue inside a losing frame. Arguing facts inside a hostile frame is like boxing in someone else's ring with their rules. If someone says, "Why are you always so defensive?" and you answer, "I'm not defensive, I just..." you already lost. You accepted the frame that you are defensive and now you're justifying yourself. The correct move is frame rejection, not defense. Examples. That's not the topic. You're jumping to conclusions. Let's be precise here. You don't attack. You reset. Resetting the frame reclaims authority. 6. Questions are more powerful than statements. Statements invite resistance. Questions force internal processing. A well-placed question slows the other person down, exposes contradictions and shifts cognitive load onto them. Example. Instead of saying, "That doesn't make sense," ask, "How does that follow from what you said earlier?" Now they must think. Now they are explaining. Mental dominance is often just strategic curiosity. 7. Most people reveal their strategy without realizing it. People leak intentions constantly, through repetition, emotional spikes and through what they avoid saying. Your job is not to interrupt. Your job is to let them talk. The more someone talks, the more patterns appear, the more motivations surface, the more leverage accumulates. Silence creates a vacuum. People fill vacuums with truth. 8. Predictability is the enemy of power. If people can predict your reactions, they can pre-plan against you. Predictability comes from consistent emotional responses, habitual arguments, repeated justifications, occasionally break patterns, pause where you usually answer, agree where you're expected to resist, exit where you're expected to engage. This destabilizes expectations. Uncertainty forces caution. 9. Never fight on multiple fronts. Many lose mentally not because they are weak, but because they allow scope creep. One issue becomes 5. One comment becomes history. One disagreement becomes identity. A disciplined mind keeps the battlefield small. You choose. What is discussed? What is ignored? What is postponed? Control of scope equals control of outcome. 10. Calm intensity beats loud force. Aggression signals lack of control. Calm intensity signals certainty. When your tone is steady but your words are precise, people listen more carefully. They sense weight behind what you say. You don't need to threaten. You don't need to dominate physically. You don't need volume. You need consistency. Pressure is not noise. Pressure is inevitability. 11. Let consequences speak for you. The strongest position is not, "If you do this, I'll do that." It is, "Do what you think is best." And then acting accordingly. When your actions align with your boundaries without drama, people learn faster than from any argument. Explanation invites negotiation. Action ends debate. Aggression is almost always a bluff. One of the biggest illusions in human conflict is aggression. Raised voice. Sharp gestures. Provocative language. Threatening posture. Most people interpret aggression as strength. In reality, aggression is usually a signal of insecurity or loss of control. A person becomes aggressive when they are losing the frame. They feel unheard. They sense a threat to their status. They are emotionally overwhelmed. This doesn't mean aggression is harmless. It means it is predictable. The key mistake people make is reacting emotionally to aggression instead of reading it diagnostically. Ask yourself, what are they trying to force me to do? What are they afraid I won't do? Why now? Aggression accelerates the interaction. Acceleration benefits the less strategic mind. Your advantage lies in deceleration. Slow the game down to regain control. When someone applies pressure, your instinct may be to respond quickly, to defend, explain, or counterattack. That instinct is exactly what they are counting on. Speed favors impulse. Slowness favors structure. Techniques to slow the game. Longer pauses before responding. Lower vocal tempo. Shorter, more deliberate sentences. Asking clarifying questions instead of answering accusations. Example. Opponent. So you're saying this is all my fault now? Weak response. No, that's not what I meant, I just. Strong response. What exactly do you think I said? Now the burden shifts. Slowness introduces friction. Friction exposes weak arguments. Never match emotional intensity. Matching intensity feels natural, and is almost always a mistake. If they escalate emotionally and you escalate with them, you validate their behavior. You normalize chaos. You lose informational advantage. Instead, create contrast. Calm against anger. Precision against volume. Silence against provocation. Contrast creates psychological imbalance. They feel exposed. You appear grounded. People instinctively trust the calmer presence in a conflict, even if they don't consciously realize it. Manipulation succeeds through emotional hooks. Manipulation is rarely logical. It works through guilt, fear, obligation, shame, hope. Manipulators do not argue facts. They activate emotions, then steer behavior. Common hooks. After everything I've done for you, a decent person would. You're the only one I can rely on. I didn't expect this from you. Notice something important. None of these address reality. They address identity and emotion. Once you respond emotionally, you are already inside the trap. Name the pattern, not the accusation. One of the most effective defenses against manipulation is meta-awareness. Instead of responding to the content, respond to the pattern. Example. Manipulator. Wow. So now you're just abandoning me. Weak response. I'm not abandoning you. Strong response. You're framing this as abandonment instead of addressing the actual issue. This does three things. 1. Breaks emotional momentum. 2. Exposes the tactic. 3. Forces a shift to rational ground. Manipulators rely on unconscious compliance. Awareness collapses their leverage. Guilt is the most abused emotion. Guilt is powerful because it bypasses logic. If someone can make you feel guilty, they don't need to convince you. But guilt only works if you accept responsibility that isn't yours. You confuse empathy with obligation. A critical rule. You can understand someone's feelings without agreeing to their demands. Empathy is not equal to compliance. A clean response. I understand how you feel. That doesn't change my decision. This sentence terrifies manipulators. It removes their favorite weapon while staying calm and respectful. Obligation is often artificial. Many people live under invisible contracts they never signed. They feel obligated because It would be rude not to. They helped me once. They'll be disappointed. That's just how it's done. Manipulators exploit these social reflexes. Ask yourself, did I explicitly agree to this? Is this expectation mutual? Would I demand the same from them? If the answer is no, obligation is an illusion. Illusions lose power once questioned. Strategic non-engagement is a skill. Not every move deserves a response. One of the strongest psychological positions is selective engagement. You respond to clear questions, direct requests, substantive points. You ignore bait, passive aggression, emotional fishing, provocations disguised as jokes. Silence is not surrender. Silence is filtration. People quickly learn what works and what doesn't. Scarcity of attention creates value. Attention is currency. If you give unlimited attention, your presence loses weight. Your words lose impact. Your boundaries blur. Strategic people ration attention. They don't respond instantly. Engage endlessly. Explain repeatedly. This is not a tactic. It's self-respect expressed behaviorally. People value what is not always available. Consistency builds psychological authority. Authority does not come from dominance. It comes from predictable integrity. When people know, you say what you mean. You do what you say. You don't bluff. You don't overreact. They adjust preemptively. Consistency removes the need for confrontation. Your reputation does the work for you. The ultimate advantage, you don't need to win. This is where most people misunderstand mental dominance. The goal is not to defeat everyone. The goal is to never be at a disadvantage. Sometimes the strongest move is letting someone think they won. Walking away early. Not correcting them. Preserving energy. If your self-worth depends on winning every interaction, you are already controlled. Freedom is the real victory. Mental superiority is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not seek applause. It manifests as calm under pressure. Clarity in chaos. Precision instead of force. Choice instead of reaction. When you master this, something subtle happens. People stop trying to test you.